2 of the creative writing program. Today we're going to look at rhyming, and we're going to look at homograph, homophones, and homonyms. I know some folks may not have heard of these before. You'll know what I mean when I start explaining it, but it's really good to start getting into the patterns and sort of creating a melody and a harmony when we write. Okay, so for the first part of the rhyming exercise, you're going to choose a 3-letter word. Then you're going to choose a 4-letter word, and then you're going to choose a 5-letter word. And under each of these words, you're going to write down as many words that you can think of that rhyme with the words that you've chosen. And so the ones that I've chosen for the 3-letter word is bee, so bee as in bumblebee. And the words that I have under here are see, tree, flea, knee, cree, he, me, tea, we, and again, C and T. And so when I'm looking at some of these words, when I look at C, I'm acknowledging the S-E-E word of I see you, and then S-E-A, which is the body of water. And then for T, I'm looking at the drinkable tea and the golf tee that you put the ball on. So this is an example of what we're gonna go through next around the homophones, homograms, and things like that. And we'll get into that. The 4-letter word that I've chosen was tone. So you have bone, throne, clone, cone, drone, home, loan, moan, own, shown, phone, and zone. And I'm sure there's many more. And then my final word I chose was there. So where, bear, care, dare, fair, bear again, where, stare, hair, hair again, lair, mare, and pear. So the 2 different bears. So bear as if like you've got nothing, and bear as in the animal. And then hair as in the animal, so the rabbit or a hare, and your hair as in the hair that's on your body. So the next activity is around homonyms, homophones, and homographs. A homonym is words that are spelt the same but have multiple meanings. And so examples that are in your package are the spruce tree and to spruce it up, suit yourself or you wore a suit, weigh on the scale or scale on the wall, and the price is fair or go to the fair. And so we can see that the words are exactly spelt the same, but there's different meanings depending on the context of what you're writing about. Then for homophones, you have words that sound alike, but they're actually spelt different and have different meanings. And so the examples that you have in your package are addition and addition. So addition for math, you're adding numbers together, or edition of a book. So a book that has multiple variations that they say there's edition 1, edition 2. Then you have examples like 2, 2, and 2. So I want to go, I like it too, or 1 + 1 is 2. Then you have Capitol building or state capitol, pick a flower or bake with flour. And so again, these are words that are spelled differently, but they sound alike and they have different meanings. Then a homograph is something that has the same spelling, but different pronunciation. You're gonna say the word differently, and it's also gonna have different meanings. So your example under the homograph is desert, which is an area of land, or desert, which means abandon. And you can also say dessert as in a food that you're eating. And then you have bass, which is a fish, but it can also be said as bass, which is an instrument. Then you have close, meaning you're nearby, or close, which means you're gonna shut something. And then you have bow, means bend down, and a bow as in a bow and arrow, and then you have bow as a ribbon. And so these can get a little bit complicated because you do have some of them that are spelt the exact same, that mean different things, but then you also have ones that are said the same, and sort of like how you enunciate on the syllables is what makes it a different word. So if you're sitting in a group, or even if you're by yourself, I want to challenge you to see if you can write some sentences using some homonyms, homophones, and homographs. try to be creative with it, and maybe talk about finding dessert on a desert island, right? And so being able to just sort of creatively play with the words, and it's not mandatory, but just see what you can come up with. And then if you can, if you are in a group, see if you can create a group story using some of these words. And if you need to, use a list, write a bunch of lists of words that sound the same, that are similar, and then create a story out of it. Your next activity is going to be object writing. And at the end, I'm going to share a poem that I had created when I did object writing a couple of years ago. And so for the first part, I want you to pick a simple object, not something that's super extravagant, but something that eventually you can draw out very simply. So that eventually you're going to be able to write the words around the drawing of the object that you've created. Then I want you to brainstorm. And so you can draw a little bubble cloud or just write words on a paper, but brainstorm anything and everything you can about that object. I want you to think about what it looks like, what it feels like, maybe what it smells like, maybe what it tastes like, what's the texture on it, is it soft, is it rubbery, is it sticky? I want you to think of descriptive words around it. Think about even the color. Like instead of just saying blue, maybe describe what that blue is. Does it look like something else? Is it deep? Is it dark? Is it light? Does it remind you of something? So take some time to brainstorm about this object and see what you can come up with. But now I want you to write in full sentences. Freestyle write, so the activity that we did in week 1, take about 5 to 10 minutes to freestyle write about your object. Again, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Think of descriptive words as you're writing and put them in full sentences. And then once that is complete, I want you to use those words to formulate them into what the image looks like. So in your package, you have some examples. One of them is a spiral. And so the words are actually written in the shape going around and around into a spiral. You also have an example of a poem written in the shape of a cat. So this is just 2 very simple examples. If you're writing about a house, just write or just draw a little silhouette of a house. It doesn't have to be extravagant. And if you can't draw it, that's okay too. Then just write it out in paragraph format. The challenge is just around seeing what words and descriptive words you can come up with in relation to the object itself. And you can make it funny. It doesn't have to be firm, it doesn't have to be structured, it doesn't have to even completely make sense. As long as it's around the object itself and it's meaningful to you, then that's what I want to see.